What's good? What's good? Welcome to the Epic Entertainment Critics. I am Antoine.
And I am still James.
And we got a movie review for you. The Reign of the Supermen. I know it's been out for a couple weeks. It came out on I guess it came out for digital to buy like 2 weeks ago, and I think it just came out for rent like last week.
Yeah.
And so sorry not getting it. I wanted to get it up sooner, but we just not got a chance to see it. So we about to give you our take on this movie. But before I do that, I have an intro. All right, we back. Okay, so Reign of the Supermen. As people might notice a little difference with me, I have on earphones. I know I look totally different, and y'all might not recognize me, but I am still Antoine. Um, you know, I
A likely story.
I had to get rid of the problem with the echo, the sound from the desktop was coming out loud, and it was picking up on my microphones. It was giving this loud echo when my video was showing. So we got that under control now. So now here we go. Got Reign of the Superman is a DC film, of course, Superman. Now this is coming. This is followed up after Death of Superman, which they done. Basically, it was the comics went in that order too. They just released Death of Superman came out like last summer or something, or
Yeah,
last fall.
sometime last summer, I think. Last summer or fall.
Right.
I'm gonna
Okay.
say like early fall.
So I remember that comic arc. That was like in the early '90s, I think, when that comic came out. I read all this like when it was new. So I was anxious to see how they do honor to the actual original comics, and they did pretty good. Superman Superman died from Doomsday. I mean, Superman got killed by Doomsday. Doomsday was just like this big, pretty much this big monster. I mean, did it comes out he was Kryptonian or some shit?
Yeah,
Was
some
that
kind of
that was canon,
Kryptonian
right?
super weapon. Yeah.
Right, and I remember in the comic they didn't give you that answer who he was to maybe later. I didn't ever get that answer. I just remember he showed up. He had on like a spacesuit, and he just walking through the city and just destroying shit, and for no rhyme or reason. You know what I'm saying? So Superman
Yeah.
fought him to the death. He killed him, but he died in the process. So this is where this movie picks up at. Reign of the Superman is basically after Superman died, all these other guys start showing up with the Superman S on their chest, but they wasn't quite the same person, but they were still claiming the mantle of Superman. Um, what do you think of this film overall? Before we get into the details,
It was pretty good. DC doesn't really miss often on their animated stuff. Uh, it definitely kind of has the feel of the last few movies that they've been doing, and it did a really good job of kind of, in the same way that Death of Superman did, of paying homage to the original source material without feeling old or dated.
right? They changed it up a little, but not much. Of course, making it one movie, you got to leave out some stuff. Because I remember originally it was four comics that
Hmm.
this came out like a different Superman came out every week. I think the Superboy was first. I think I can't remember the exact order, but I remember I bought the Superboy first, and then the Man of Steel, and then just Steel, and then the Eradicator. I always call him the Solar Superman. I wasn't sure. Is his name Eradicator? They call him the Eradicator.
Yeah, the Eradicator.
Yeah, and then the Cyborg Superman. Now you know what? The Cyborg Superman was one I wasn't even familiar with for real because I had I think that's the one comic I had skipped or something. I just didn't remember where the Cyborg came from, and seeing this movie it clarified a lot of stuff. Um, and we'll get into all that into the when we get to the whole story. So let's talk. Or I guess we can keep going with the story. So all these Supermans popped up. So we'll just start from each Superman. So starting with Superboy, I believe that was the first one that showed up.
Yeah.
And how you think they did that? How you think they did with the Superboy?
You know what? Superboy is a bit of a weird one for me on this one, just because like he's very like I remember reading an interview where they basically said like the way they decided to write Superboy for this was like, what if Clark Kent had been raised by the Kardashians?
Yeah. Right. And he was like, I think his personality fit the personality of the comic, where he was kind of like in the spotlight. I think they wanted to make him like a kind of not really a loud teenager, but they wanted him to be like kind of a cool teenager. Because I remember he had the little he had the haircut, he had the little
He had the fade.
right, he had the fade, and that was new for the time, like that jacket and the fade. I think he had an earring, one earring.
Yep.
So they wanted him to be like a cool teenager, not the do-gooder, but I'm a good guy, but I'm a good guy with style or whatever, all that kind of stuff. I think that was
It's
kind
like
of like
because
his
where
deal.
Superman is kind of like this unreachable idea. It's like, no, this dude is just like y'all, but he's
Right,
cool.
right. That was the whole deal, Superboy. Then you find out at the end of that first comic that Superboy was really a clone of Lex Luthor. Well, of Clark Kent and Lex Luthor, which is kind of weird. It's like saying they had a baby or something.
Yeah,
It's like,
his two dads.
hell no. and that show you, and then he's strong, but he's not that strong. I don't know about like he got like maybe half of Superman's strength or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because I remember in particular in a comic he was doing something, he got hurt, and then people was noticing that wouldn't have hurt Superman. Uh,
yep.
like he was stopping a fire or something, he got burnt, and they was like, damn, that fire wouldn't have hurt Superman, and so they figured out he's strong, but he's not as strong as Superman. So I don't know where his limit was, but I thought he was pretty cool. He lived up to what the comics already set up for him, just a flashy kid or whatever. And then so
Yeah.
you got the Eradicator. How you think they handled it?
You know what? Like the Eradicator was never gonna be that much of like a hard sell because he's very much like robotic in that way.
Right. He wasn't in there that much, though, was it to you?
Yeah.
Did you think he was in there that much?
No,
Right, because
no, like they basically use him as set dressing, like
yeah, they
to
kind of
help like let you know how the story looks to everyone
they
else.
use him to push the plot, but the thing was, you kind of wondered like where the hell this thing come from, or where the hell this guy come from, because I remember when I read the original comic, they made it seem like that he was Clark that woke up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then you find out later that he's actually, I think, he comes from the Fortress of Solitude or something Kryptonian. He like some kind
Well,
of
it's been a
Kryptonian
minute.
countermeasure or something. Huh?
Like I think they even tried to make it out like he was Superman, but they cleaned out all the way being raised on Earth had corrupted him or whatever. Like they actually painted it like that. He was a
Right,
more
but why was he
Kryptonian
going
version.
around trying to take out criminals? Like, so you know what I'm saying? Like one of his main functions was just to protect. And you know what? And I don't want to spoil nothing if I say his exact motivation.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? I just thought that it was just weird to do what he did, seek out stuff to take out, or did he see that was an immediate threat to him or something? You know what I'm saying?
Like I really have no idea, and I keep trying to puzzle over that in my head. And the only thing I can come up with is like if some kind of way it was trying to make sure that he didn't come when things were done that they were left in much more or less the same situation as before he got there.
Yeah, I mean, he was just like you said, he was kind of there to push the plot, and then you got Man of Steel. Now they skipped all their origin stories. That is one thing I guess I have to go with because of the time. This was a movie, but I think their origin stories were important to show where they came from because they all was just there. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like the only one who really got any kind of fleshing out, like, because even Hank Henshaw's, his was like the majority of his origin story takes place at the end
I
of
think
Death
that
of
might
Superman.
be a spoiler, right? By even saying who he is, but they won't know who you talking about. So my point, I was going where I was going with that was the Man of Steel. The Man of Steel, or just Steel. Um, it's interesting. You'll be like, where did this guy come from? Who is he? And they didn't give him for real no
Like,
backstory. He just kind of showed up,
he's there.
right?
Like they even act like, oh yeah, I know you. You're that guy. I'm like, but who's
Right.
that guy?
I know. And then I used to, I used to work here or whatever. That's why I know. That's why I got all this technology or whatever. So they
Right.
pretty much made him like Iron Man. Like I do like that. Like he basically, the black version of Iron Man. And I like him. And don't say War Machine's the black version of Iron Man. No, War Machine
No,
is
no,
just a guy that's using Iron Man spare parts.
yeah,
John Henry Iron actually designed that shit. Now
yeah.
his suit is not better than Iron Man's. Don't get me wrong, but I like the fact that they made him like this, inventor that had gadgets and shit. You know what I'm saying?
That in it, like in regards to like the War Machine thing, it's like all War Machine is going to be, even in his armor, is basically a fighter pilot.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas John Henry Irons, like he can do more than just shoot his way out of problems.
right, right. I mean, and then, well, they didn't never really explain if his suit made out of iron or is it made out of whatever. But the thing is, his face. How does he have like his facial expressions? I
That
was like,
bothered from the jump,
yeah, I
like
was
because
like, I thought that was like a mistake. They, when the old cartoon they'd do that, then now they'd be like, okay, we got to explain how we
yeah,
can see his face moving and not just an iron mask.
because
You know
like
what I'm saying?
originally he was just a steel worker who cast his whole suit out of steel, but now
Right,
it's a different story.
right. He like
Like
a
there's all this
scientist or
tech in
whatever.
there.
Right, but it's like, okay, is it like some kind of experimental metal that you can? I don't know. It just don't make sense that it has a face, like it moves
Yeah.
like with his face move. You know what I'm saying?
I would
Like,
have loved to have that moment of someone saying, "Okay, how are you doing that?"
yeah.
Like,
They be like, damn, we got to explain this. Oh, nano machines. Got you. Well, why don't
nailed
you
it.
have nano machines over your whole body? Because I don't think it cover my face. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you got the Cyborg Superman, which I said I forget. I never got that comic, so I never knew exactly who the hell that was.
Mm.
And you find out later who that is in the movie. What you think of the Cyborg one?
You know what? Even back in the day, like I just found him to be something of a hard sell,
Mm-hmm.
just because his whole story, like he comes in and he's basically saying, "No, no, I'm the real Superman." Like all these
Right.
other guys,
He was
don't worry.
obviously not, and it cracked me
Yeah,
up how the story he told. Like, oh, I just got built out of spare parts, but I'm still me. And it's like, so she asked him a question on here. No, well, I don't remember everything, but
yeah,
like,
it's convenient.
I know, like, man, you ain't
Yeah,
convincing me that you Clark, motherfucker.
but also you want to talk about no, no, like my people, we're so advanced. Like, but they can only make you look like that. They can't really.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Why can't they give you the whole face? You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
no. You told me they couldn't make the cybernetic parts look like you.
right. So let's talk about the action. So of course, all these guys are gonna clash at one point, and they kind of kicked it off with actually it was all of them. Yeah, they kind of kicked it off with all of them kind of meeting up at one point and had a free for all. So what you think about the action?
I actually really liked it. Like they did a good job of like showcasing what everybody's strengths are. Like, so Superboy doesn't have the strength, and speed, but like he works really well with his size.
Right. And he was getting some hits. He got his ass whooped or whatever. I kind of like, and then I like to. I forgot to mention Lex Luthor. I like how they handle Lex Luthor.
Like,
and
first of all, from the jump, I'm like, Lex Luthor knows what it's like to be a dad now.
Right, I know. A disappointed
Like, I'm
dad.
disappointed that every time that kid does something, you just seem like,
But see, it wasn't even him, man. Lex was just a asshole. So no matter what the kid did, it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Uh, which I'm looking. Then I started to think like Lex is so shitty to Superboy that I was thinking like, why do he let him treat him like that? You got superpowers. Like he don't have no secret button that could just kill you. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
it's different if he had something like, I control you. They press the button and show. If you don't do what I say, I press this button. That's your ass. You know what I'm saying?
right.
But he didn't have that, so I guess he was kind of more like, like the parental control that people have over people sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, the scene where you know what? The scene where I guess that's Marcy, but he was like, he's like, sorry, like for what? For this, and he grabbed Marcy and then put her in line of fire.
No, he didn't even say sorry. He said, thank you.
Oh, he said thank you. That's right. Now that was a funny ass moment. Yeah. So they had a little brawl, and they just displayed all their powers or whatever. It kind of showed who's the more powerful out of all the whole group, and Man of Steel and Superboy, they kind of like second tier, far as powers.
Like, y'all good, but why don't you step back? The adults are talking.
Right. So far as the whole plot of what really happened to Superman, and if I say exactly what it was, it'll be a spoiler. But Superman comes back. Everybody knows that, and that's where he had the iconic black suit and the mullet. I guess his hair was growing or whatever. And they always they was gonna find a way to bring him back, and without revealing who's the main villain, all I can say is that Superman had a final confrontation with one of the Supermen because, of course, one of them was not who they said they was. Put it that way. And what'd you think about like that ending and the action at the end and all that?
I was when that last confrontation like started, I thought I was going to spend the whole thing wondering why what's the name was still there.
What? Who? Lois?
Yeah.
Yeah, they kept adding her in there when she didn't have to be. I swear, I was like, why are you here? You know what I'm saying? It's like things. I mean, of course, you're gonna do this for the drama, but it's like you don't have to be. You're the only one without powers, and you keep jumping right in front of the shit.
Yeah.
Where you're not helping. All you're doing is slowing me down. So why don't you go home and wait for my call? You know what I'm saying? That ain't hard to do.
It's like I'm ready to do what it takes to end this, but I can't have you here for this because you in the way.
Right. So it was stuff like that was irking me. And then they did something with the Justice League that was so convenient that I was like,
like that's a good word for this movie, convenient.
Yeah, they did a couple things. So convenient that that's with the writing, but I was like, I can excuse it because this is it's an animated movie, and it's one of them animated movies where they had to. It was a longer arc where they had to condense, so they had to do stuff that was like unbelievable or something that wouldn't probably happen just to keep the story going. But they did something to get rid of the Justice League because you'll be like, okay, it's other members of the Justice League that can handle this. So they did something to incapacitate all the other Justice League members at the same time. They happen to be standing in the same place where they all got something happened to all of them.
I got problems with that entire like series of events too. So
I know.
I'm holding all that back right now.
Right, and that was a part that kind of made me say, y'all had a pretty good movie, but stuff like this is real lazy writing. You know what I'm saying? I had to take points off for that shit.
Yeah.
And they had stuff like, so they was trying to protect the president, and then so the threat. I'll take care of the president. So you had the president, instead of taking her away from the danger that you can go super fast and get her out of there, you leave the president there and just put her to the
Well,
side and take.
she's in a limo. I'm sure she'll be fine.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Why you let her drive away in a limo slowly where you could have just fucking, super speed her to another city and came back,
So
stuff
nobody's
like
driving
that.
the limo at this point. Nobody's driving the limo.
Well,
They
stuff
just put
like
her.
that,
Yeah.
inconsistencies, stuff like that, man, just kind of annoyed me. But on the whole, it was cool. I wasn't crazy about the end because the villain, and I ain't gonna say exactly who the villain was, but the villain was kind of is cliched and it was corny for as the motivation, and then the thing, and I know this is um, a Scott Evil thing, but you got to kill them now. Why are you waiting to kill them? It's like, I was like, because he had Lois like, no, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and you wait here. I'm looking like, why don't you kill her now? It's gonna have the same effect than killing her in front of him or whatever. It's gonna have the same effect. So instead of putting her somewhere where she can get out of and then come back, it was like they was like falling to all the bad.
And let's not forget, let me stand all the way on the other side of the room while I gloat and tell you the entirety of my
I
evil
know
plan.
they fell into all the tropes of super villainy, and it was so cliched. It just irked
Like,
me.
like every trope, it's all right. I'm gonna come handle this. No, I'll do it. It's gotta be me.
Yeah.
And doing the whole plan just for that.
Said, and you're gonna die, but first, no, do it now.
But before that, I want you to know what it felt like.
Right. You realize you just give him more time to get your ass back. You realize that, right?
Which also is the only thing he doesn't have going into this is time.
Yeah.
So you
But
gave
for
him
some reason, he
all
wanted to
the
do
time.
everything slowly.
No, take it slow. I want to enjoy this.
Yeah. All right, man. So I'm gonna give it a rating, man. The movie was good. It was entertaining. I liked the action. The animation was good. I like the voices. And then they had appearance by Darkseid. I actually like the voice they had for Darkseid. It just felt like a mean black dude. So I was like the voice work, and the sound effects was good. Some of the storytelling I was disappointed at, but I guess that was all from the comics. But if you're gonna change something, they fall on that. They fall on their sword when the story's shitty. Oh, well, it was from the comics, so we didn't have no choice. Yeah, but you take liberties with other shit. So why don't you take liberties and changing that cliche corny shit at the end, and give me a better ending? But
I mean, especially when they have such a clear opportunity to do so and go their own way with it, and then when they don't, it makes it so they decide to change that doesn't work look that much sketchy.
Right. So they were saying, oh, we was beholden to the comics, so that's why we gave you that shitty ending. Nah, you just didn't feel like coming up with nothing better. But so because of the storyline being kind of weak to me and cliched, and the villain was lackluster, I am gonna give it a dope, man. It's better than all right. I had fun with it, but it wasn't epic, but it was a damn good movie. So I'm gonna give it a dope, and for those reasons. So what you give it?
It sounds like this. I realize that DC basically does with its animated movies what Marvel does with its live action ones.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the formula down so cold that even when they're not completely on their game, hitting every mark perfectly, it's still a pretty good time.
So what you give it?
I'm gonna give it a dope. I'm gonna give it a dope. I was gonna give it an all right, but upon rewatching it, I'm like, no, I did really enjoy this. I got into critic mode. I'm like, black mark, nope, delete, and then I'm like, you know what? It was a fun ride though.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like I said, it was pretty good. It wasn't like the best, but it was pretty good, and it was because of the story. But they was beholden to the comic, so the villain ended up being a real dumb fucking villain. That when I say dumb, not because of he was dumb. You know what I'm saying? His motivation was dumb. He was dumb. His plan was dumb, and everything he did was to his own demise, which what all villains do. So, yeah, that's our review for Reign of Supermen. It was a dope movie. Probably, yeah, I'm gonna look to add that to my collection. I was gonna start collecting these on Blu-ray, man. I've been slacking, but it's worth the buy though. So I am gonna be out of here. Thanks for checking out the video and subscribe to the channel. All right, we out of here.
Peace.
Peace.